Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight to welcome one of our all-time favorite store authors, Ellen Airgood, back to the store. Ellen, we are so happy to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Love this store.
Well, we are just, I'm over the moon about this book. I'm over the moon about you. I'm fondly remembering South of Superior, which so many of you have read. If you liked South of Superior, you are going to love Ellen's new book, Tin Camp Road, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. And if you did not know, Ellen is also the author of 2 children's novels, one of which is Prairie Evers, about a young girl who has to move away from her grandmother and isn't very happy about it, but the chickens that she gets kind of help soothe the pain. I love this book as well. So before we get started, usually it takes takes people a little while to join us. I had a few nonsense questions for you.
Awesome. Hit me with them.
If you had a choice between 2 superpowers, being invisible or flying, which would you choose?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's
I have
very
to think
difficult.
about that. Being invisible or flying. I'm going to go with flying.
That's the right answer.
Excellent.
So good job.
Thank you.
Someone earlier
Who
said,
doesn't want to fly?
well, earlier, Katie had a good point. She said it depends on what's your motivation? What are you trying to do? You might need to be invisible for some sort of covert activity.
But if you could fly, that seems super helpful.
Either way, you could gather a lot of information for a novel.
What a thrill.
What a
Flying.
How many square feet of pizza are eaten in the U.S. each year?
Holy cannoli. That is a great question.
As the owner of a diner, you make a lot of pizzas.
I make a lot of pizzas, and I have absolutely no idea square feet of pizza per year. Well,
in the whole
country. So if I make that many, and I do it that many, 1,072,000 square feet of pizza.
That is an excellent guess.
Thank you.
It's 2.4 billion square feet of pizza. But that's because you probably didn't know that the population is 238 million.
I had no idea.
And
so we each eat how many square feet
on
average?
If
per
each
capita?
person eats 1 square foot a month,
yes,
times 328 million people times 12 for 12 months, that's 2.4 billion.
Wow.
Or more. I would not trust my math.
You send me that statistic. I need it in the diner somewhere.
Okay, great. We can do that.
Thank you.
So if you're just joining us, settle in. We're going to talk to Ellen Airgood about her new book, Tin Camp Road. It is the best Michigan fiction of the entire year. I will say it.
Thank you.
I'm saying it. And it's only August, but you don't need to worry because I've read all the ones that are coming out next, and you don't need to. The PW Starred Review, that's Publishers Weekly, in case anybody out there is not familiar. It's a publication that is read by book lovers, book bloggers, authors, publishers, all over the United States. And to get a starred review from Publishers Weekly is a very coveted thing for an author. So you should feel really good.
So happy about that. I feel really good about that.
Didn't have to pay anybody to make them write it.
Nope.
Just had to write the book.
Yep.
For 10 years.
7
years.
You exaggerate so much.
That's my job. That's my job.
I was kidding.
They said at the end, readers will fall in love with this story's rich characters and scenery. And the opening scene in your book talks about the smell of bigness, which I loved that term, those word choices. And I'm sure you can get that smell on the plains of Montana or the top of a mountain, but it's not the same as the bigness of Lake Superior, just the same way that it's not the same as the bigness of Lake Michigan. And it resonated with me, that term, that smell of bigness. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I so want to set a reader in place whenever I'm writing, and especially when anytime, but when I worked hard on the opening, I thought, what is this book really about? what matters to Laurel, what is at stake, what would be at stake for me. And I love the UP. It's not always an easy place to make a go of it. I have a lot of sympathy for the main character in this book who is struggling to make a go of it for herself and her daughter in the UP. So I try to really mine down deep into what I love and what I think about and what's so big. The bigness of it, it has a whole mental, emotional, spiritual, and geographical aspect to it. And I want to try to be unique, I suppose, but also authentic, not unique just for the sake of being unique. And I thought, yeah, I do think that Bigness has a smell.
Oh,
It
yeah.
smells different. You don't
Yeah.
feel hemmed in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I loved it. Why do you think that you wrote this book then at this time, or why? I mean, because it's been a long journey to get here.
That's a great question. Someone asked me that downstairs just a little while ago, and I said, as a writer, sometimes the main impetus to begin a project is simply to be working, to be writing. There's not always, with Prairie Evers, the middle grade book Prairie came to me completely the easiest writing I ever did. This wasn't like that. So it started with the need to be working. And then once I began working and characters began to kind of step on stage, I became so interested in Laurel, who's the mom in the story, and her daughter too. But I wanted to give a voice to what I see as important to the working poor, I guess would be the term for it, and how nuanced and complicated and wonderful and terrible and just like everybody else's life in so many ways. And to say that I see good parenting matters so much, no matter where you're at in terms of your resources. And wonderful parenting happens all over the place in all kinds of situations. And I just wanted to give a voice to the people struggling to be a good parent and to make a good life and to foster creativity. This kid, her kid, man, she's so creative.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's the easiest character to write, the daughter.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing her mom try so hard to foster all that in her against a lot of odds. Yeah.
Well, and this book is so much a mother-daughter story, and there is friction, but it isn't this sort of commercialized, sensationalized fiction. It's so real. It's, when you walk away from Lauren and Sky, it's, that the relationship between them and the bond between them is like nothing else. And having a mother or having a daughter, a lot of us can identify with that. I'm very lucky that I have a mother and a daughter, and I've always said that the best smell in the world is holding your child after your mother has held your child.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Then you have all of those smells at the same time.
That's wonderful.
And I thought that this book had that because she talks about her mother and missing her mother and not having her mother there as that support, but channeling all of what she feels that her mother would do for her into what she can do for Sky. It's just so heartfelt.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. So the Perseids, am I saying that correctly?
I don't know.
Okay.
I say Perseids.
Perseids.
I don't know that that's right at all.
Okay. Well, the Perseids or the Perseids at the beginning of the novel that Laurel and Sky are going to see. It's Sky's 10th birthday, and Laurel is going to get out of work and take Sky to see the Perseids. Perseids.
The meteor showers.
The meteor showers. And this is a real phenomenon that I had not known about.
Oh, you
had
need
no
to know
idea
about this.
Yes.
It's coming up.
Especially, yes. So mark your calendars, August 11th, 12th, and 13th. And you can Google it and look it up online. I will talk about it in the Monday email, though, and I will give you full details about the best hours. It's 3 a.m., I believe, as they've said,
It's
for
rough.
our location.
It's rough time.
Yeah. So you're going to have to set your
You need
alarm.
an alarm.
But you don't have to. You can see it.
I've seen good meteors at midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
You need dark skies.
Which we're very lucky to have.
And clear skies, which is
Right.
Not for sure.
Well, we've got 3 nights to see it, and I have been so obsessed with this that I actually dreamed about meteor showers last night.
That is wonderful. That's awesome.
So, what made you think to include that as this special moment for this mother and daughter to go see on her 10th birthday? Why is that the thing that they're going to go do on her 10th birthday?
Well, I think I was looking for ways to show how connected Laurel and Sky are to their natural world, to the beauty that means so much to Laurel. And it's a beauty that is really soul expanding. It's not just like, oh, this is so pretty, I need to stay here. It really feeds her. And she feels it feeds Sky too, that it's maybe one of the most important things is to be so close to what is a more wild and more, sometimes I think maybe more authentic lifestyle. And to, if you stop and watch the meteor showers, it's so awesome. It's just beautiful. And
in the real sense of the word awesome.
Yes, in the real sense of the word awesome. Mm-hmm. And it blows everything else out of the water. It's so important. And I it's an event for me every year and a number of my friends. And so it seemed like a natural, like it's not like they're going to go to Chuck E. Cheese. So, right. Not that couldn't be fun too, but they're in the world they're in. Mm-hmm. And Laurel is the person, highly idealistic, sometimes very frustratingly so. But this is one of those awesome things that they have a tradition of. And I'm always looking for ways to try to share the unique and powerful soul that is the UP.
Mm-hmm. And Laurel is always so, she always feels so inadequate throughout the book. She's always questioning her parenting. She's always questioning who she is. And
she is. It's a heavy burden that she carries. Mm-hmm. And it can be irritating to a reader or a writer. But I get it.
She was irritating. I love
Thank you. It's a burden that she carries. Her self-doubt is a real stumbling block to recognizing her own strengths. But every main character certainly, but every character needs one of those, at least, stumbling blocks so they can change during the course of the story, hopefully.
Well, and it's a universal fear, I think. Being inadequate is such a fear that we all have. I mean, it definitely struck a chord.
Very relatable. And for her, with her struggles financially, that comes with that self-doubt. Mm-hmm. I think it's amplified. Mm-hmm. I think anyone will have it. It's completely universal, no matter what your circumstances. Mm-hmm. But she's so sure she might be not enough. And I wanted to just explore that.
Yeah. And then going to see the meteor showers is she's so knowledgeable to, be celebrating the nature around her, and yet she doesn't see that as one of her strengths. Although we do, as the reader, we're thinking, oh my gosh, what an amazing gift to give your child. And she's thinking of all the things that she can't give her child.
And isn't that universal too?
Yes. And that's, again, that's why these characters are so authentic and come off the page. She says, where is my note on that one? She has this fear of inadequacy, and she I'm wondering that talent that you have for tapping into the essence of human emotion and frailty. Is that intentional? Is that something that you are trying to write about, or is that just a natural way for you to write about human nature and people?
That is a great question. My first answer is I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
You have to know.
But I think that, like Laurel, I have a lot of fears of inadequacy.
Okay.
And I think what I have to bring to the table is my own experience and my own honesty. So I try to be very honest in my writing, and I try to go to the heart of the matter, and I try to clear past all the defenses that we put up as people to get to the real spirit of people beneath. What makes people tick? Mm-hmm. What is motivating them around the planet? What is behind either their easiness or their difficult. I guess I've waited on a lot of people, and I wonder
Yes.
what makes people tick. And I try very hard. I try really hard for them and also for me. Honestly, this is not all just wonderfulness on the part of the waitress, but to keep my own self calm and sane, I try to see why do they do that? I wonder if they have a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I had more sympathy for the reason, if I would find sometimes the difficultness less difficult.
We do the same thing behind the counter
course.
here as well. Yeah.
Service
exactly.
work is very enlarging.
Yes.
I really believe in it. I really believe
Yes.
service work is honorable, important, and difficult and skilled, and it will teach you a lot.
It will teach you a lot about yourself. Too.
Yes, ma'am.
It will teach you so much about yourself. And all of your novels are character driven. I mean, that is the crux of what is so appealing about your books. And there's a scene, the telescope scene in the book. It's page 123 if anyone is at home following along. But this passage I thought was so powerful. Laurel wants to give her child everything, and she can't. And she gets a very special thing from the dollar store, and it is a telescope. While her daughter is away with a fairly wealthy woman who has sort of taken an interest in her child and can offer her experiences that Laurel can't offer. And she's torn between allowing her child to go do some of these things and keeping her close. And she thinks that the two are mutually exclusive.
Yes.
And when she tells her, when her daughter Sky tells her that she has gotten a telescope, she says, she bought me a telescope. The lady in the shop said it's a good one. And Mary Lynn agreed. It's so cool. It's black and it says Orion Sky Quest on it. That's all. The shop lady said you never want to buy a telescope that advertises its magnification because that'll be a cheap, useless telescope, one that never works. A noise came out of Laurel, an that might have been an interjection conveying understanding or else a gasp of pain. In the slag heap of the gifts she'd bought at Dollar General, there was one fine thing, or there had been, a telescope whose box advertised its magnification 35 times to 40 times, which had seemed like a lot. And it's so heartbreaking for Laurel in that moment. And it also conveys, it's like all of her fears are coming to fruition in that moment. The fear of being naive, her financial situation, her lack of worldliness or lack of awareness in the world. And that struck such a chord with me as well. I mean, I think that's so scary that you're going to say the wrong thing or not know enough, to realize what you don't know.
Yes.
And to have it pointed out to you by your child.
Yes, that scene, yes. It was, it still makes me very sad for Laurel.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to write scenes like that. I get very emotionally wrapped up in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get very restless. I want to get away from the feelings. I can't. If I'm going to write correctly, I have to write them,
Mm-hmm.
But I do a lot of pacing. I might get tearful. I might leave my office or my quiet area and go trying to find some people, some noise to help. Because I get so emotionally wrapped up in what is happening to the characters. I think I'm experiencing everything they experience in a very literal way, in a very immediate way. Like it's actually happening to me right now. Like I'm the one on the phone being like, oh, I'm such an idiot.
Right. And she's so graceful about it. And they have the conversation.
And I love that about her.
Yes.
I really love that about Laurel. She's trying so hard to be the bigger person all the time.
And that's something that money can't buy. You know, her grace and the way that she moves through the world is such a gift to her daughter. And she doesn't see it as a strength at all. And we watch her.
I think I've had the honor and the fortune to know people like that. And I feel for them so much. And this book might be a call out to them to say, hey, I see you. I see what you're doing and who you are. And it's so important. And you matter so much. Do not let the world tell you that you don't. Or your own doubts. It's not always the world. The world's not so bad. Sometimes it's that voice in your own head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny because there was a question I was going to ask to say, was there anyone that you were thinking of when you were writing the book? Is there anything hidden in the book that, for people to recognize themselves, or any character traits that are specific to anybody that at the diner, or people that you're friends with, or family?
It's a really hard question to answer. The characters there might be people. There always are, even if I couldn't say now who. But as a book develops, the characters always become themselves. They become completely independent of whoever might have inspired them. And usually if someone inspires, it's usually an amalgam of people,
Sure.
It's like a kind of people, or a kind of situation. But the book, the story, and the characters, they have their own requirements and agendas, and pretty soon they are themselves. And you can't really relate them back to who they might have sprung from.
Do you have springboards that, do you write down things that you see people do, or,
No.
No,
Mm-mm.
not until you sit down. Not until, oh, you do? Okay.
No, I really, truly don't. I really don't. I don't.
Okay.
I think I'm such a private person. Aside from writing these novels where I try to be emotionally completely open and vulnerable. But don't be asking me about my real private life.
Yeah.
For the most part, I will tell you how I feel, but I'm not. Anyway, so I'm private and I respect other people's privacy. So I don't take that kind of notes ever.
Okay.
Ever.
So it's when you actually
it's when
sit
I'm
down
actually working. I just kind of let what I might have seen come together in a way that might turn into a story.
Okay. That's interesting. I think that's interesting because I would picture you sort of writing down quotes that people have said, or little things. No. Okay. Okay. That's really interesting to me.
We have client confidentiality.
As do we. Yes.
I do, though. I do take people's privacy seriously.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And I don't, well, and maybe sometimes I want to. There are things that would be like, oh, I should remember that. And then 2 seconds later, I'm like, what? Or interact with people themselves. Even if it might be fun, I don't generally have to. I'm always buying these little notebooks I'm going to stick in my back pocket, and nothing ever comes of it. By the end of the season, I have this rumpled up little blank notebook that's blank.
See, and I thought that was like your magical superpower, that you would just, jot things down and get all these great ideas from the customers.
Or if I jot anything down, it's completely illegible.
Okay.
Or I get bleach water on it.
Oh,
or, something like that. Or I'm like, oh, yeah, don't forget to order limes. And I'll write limes.
That's great. I love it. Laurel has another moment of self-realization with the outfit that she wears to the parent-teacher conference. And that was another moment where I thought, she's going to the parent-teacher conference, step one of being a good parent in this situation.
Right.
She's doing all the right things. She's checking all the right boxes. She'll do anything for her child. And yet the thing that she is worried about is that when she catches sight of herself, is that, I don't look fancy. I look cheap.
She thinks she looks cheap.
And her all of her confidence just crumbles because she thought she looked nice to go see the teacher, to look professional, to look like the good parent. Yeah. And now she thinks, I think the word you used, she felt like she looked sleazy instead of dressy.
And maybe we haven't all felt sleazy, but who hasn't ended up somewhere feeling like, oh, I look like crap, as it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or this is all wrong.
And it's
visuals are so, what I have read, I think that humans, we actually take in something like 80% of our information visually, and very little of it is actually through, say, dialogue.
Wow.
Or the things that we say. We don't even know it.
Right.
So I think that's a profound fear and source of insecurity for many, many people.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly felt it for her.
Yeah.
And have felt it for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really a self-help book. Is what
It's
you're
totally a
saying.
self-help
You're just gonna
book.
everybody's
You
gonna
can
workshop all of
reshelve
their.
it.
Yep, there we go. We'll
You can
put
have
it
it all
downstairs.
over. Michigan, fiction, self-help, philosophy.
You can get it. You can give it to anyone.
Right.
Really, is
Yeah,
what
you
we're
really
saying.
can.
You don't need just one copy. Well, I got to say that making a reader wince and cringe is a gift
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
I
Is
mean,
it?
yes.
All right.
I mean, how many people can do that? That's amazing.
Thanks.
I love it.
Thanks, Jessilynn.
I just love it. And it's another manifestation of all the things that she's afraid of coming to fruition and actually coming true. It's like a nightmare
Yes.
for her.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
There are a couple of other nightmares that happen in the story that I'm not going to talk about because I feel like those things are things that you need to experience with Laurel and with Sky to understand them in the context
That
of
makes
how they
sense.
happen. Because there are parenting decisions and parenting choices that we all make, and there's not always someone there to see them. And something happens where Laurel makes a bad decision and it's on public display. And the consequences are
Severe.
pretty devastating, severe. One thing that Laurel and Sky have is communication between one another that I love. And even during the hardest times, and Kirk has picked up on the gift of making the reader wince and seeing into everybody's insecurities. They picked out this line that said, "Better times are just around the corner," Laurel brightly assured her daughter. And then Sky says, "Have you ever noticed how you always say that, but then the corner moves?" And I loved that because there in our vernacular, there are ways that we always say things like that, like we're always moving the goalpost or, things
Right,
like
right.
that. And this was a completely fresh, new look at that feeling. And I wondered where that came from.
Sky is just a smarty. I know she calls it like she sees it.
You do know that you wrote it, though. Right? So
I
you're
don't-
the smarty in this.
Well, thanks. I don't actually. I did write it, and man, did I write it! I wrote it, and I wrote it, and I wrote it, and it was difficult. And as with South to Superior, it was completely tempting, beyond tempting, to just give the heck up.
Sure.
This was not an easy process, and it wasn't obvious what was to be done about the manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
But the characters themselves become so important to me that I can't abandon them. I just can't do it, even if all rationality says, abort,
Uh-huh.
Man overboard, get
Right.
out the lifeboats,
You're
go.
not going to do it.
You're not.
Yeah.
This isn't going to work.
You're going down with the
You're
ship.
going down with the ship. And I'm like, okay, I'm going down with the ship. So the characters take on a spirit they really truly begin to seem to me like real people, real spirits out in the world. Not real people exactly, but they are themselves, and I don't feel responsible for having written them in a way. I feel like they came to me and I'm like, guys, you could have gotten a better writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think you should have. Because I don't think, I'll try.
I think
So,
they got exactly who they should have.
Thanks.
I think that's fantastic.
So that's how that happened. Sky is, you said, that I was responsible for writing her, and I know I am.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you, especially Sky. She just comes, her voice is so natural in the things she observes and says.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all her, and I can't say, we all know awesome 10-year-olds, and we're like, I can't believe you just said that.
Right.
So that's
Right.
That's where it came from. Just another awesome 10-year-old
Well,
doing their thing.
Yep. I thought it was very inspirational. Sometimes it's really hard to meet your goal because the goal moves and things change, and not to be so hard on yourself in that way, And there is that, through the whole book, there's this sense of, pulling up your bootstraps, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And
I really wanted to write a hero. I can tell you that in Laurel. I wanted to write a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And someone who didn't feel sorry for herself.
No, she never does. And I sometimes think she doesn't even realize the line, that razor thin line that she's walking between poverty and, danger. Just
Well,
real
it becomes
danger.
maybe matter of course.
Mhm.
Does it seem like a razor thin line when you've been walking it for a long time?
Yeah, exactly. Which again, it was so real, I think. What are your thoughts on how or why people do or don't get out of bad financial situations, especially in this country today?
I think it's hard to make a go of it if you start from not a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to romanticize that at all,
Mm-hmm.
period. At the same time, I think it's not having more and doing more. It's not always necessary to have the richest life imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be great if we valued simple experiences more.
That's beautiful. Yes. Do you believe in luck?
That's a great question. Do I believe in luck?
Well, in relation to people who
I think I do.
sometimes seem to get out of bad financial situations. Sometimes I think it's luck, and so I do. I believe in luck because I think
that some people are risk takers enough to grab onto opportunities that might leave other people too cautious to engage in, or too used to what they're doing, or too comfortable, or too. Sometimes for luck, you have to be good with change. I would not be someone great with change. I have many, many friends who are like, I don't do change. I'm like, yeah,
me
neither.
So you think people make their luck more than?
I don't really know what I think. I think it's a combination of things. Sometimes people make their luck. Sometimes people happen upon it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have to be really creative to grab true luck, though. Mm-hmm. Luck can turn sour in an instant. Yeah. Be careful about luck. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I'm a Michigander. You just be careful now.
That's right. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
I'm Ellen. I'm sorry.
Well, because Laurel I feel like she could have worked. She did work as hard as she could all the time. And she does get a break at one part. I don't want to reveal anything.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I thought it was very lucky. And I could see how if that thing hadn't happened, the end of the story or the middle really of the story would have been much different. So that's why I wondered what you thought about
luck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've ever thought a lot about luck, honestly. Mm-hmm. Full disclosure.
Well, do you think that hard work always pays off?
Nope.
I don't either.
But well, maybe.
Well, it depends on what
how
we quantify it.
Off.
Right.
Hard work is great for its own sake.
Yes.
And if you like your work and you find it satisfying, if you're good at it at any level, no matter what it is,
mm-hmm.
Then yeah, it always pays off because you're doing something that engages your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't love always, but I like to wash dishes in our place. You can control it. You can get her done. Nobody bugs you.
And there's a beginning, a middle, and an end?
A beginning, a middle, well, it doesn't always have an end.
No, isn't it? Yeah,
but it does have an end by the end of the night. And you can make things right. You can make a bad situation right.
Yeah, sure.
I like it. And I'm fast, usually. I'm usually quite efficient. And it's great. It's hard work, and I don't mind it. Does it pay off? Sure it does.
Well, you have clean dishes the next day, so you can start all over.
It depends on, but in terms of like paying off, not always.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Me either. Have you read Bootstrapper by Marty Jolie?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about her a lot.
Did you?
When I was reading, some of the comparisons with Laurel, just that drive to just keep going.
Yeah.
For her kids.
And what else can you do? You've got to keep the train on the tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not everybody does. So.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't, but you've got to try to keep the train on the tracks, I think. Or someone like Laurel does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Laurel makes it because of her community. Really and truly. I feel like that was such a pivotal part of the book.
I think you're right. And I think that's another thing that I write community a lot, I'm told.
Mm-hmm.
I think I live in community very much so, but I'm not always uber aware of it. It's sort of like breathing, so I don't pull it out all the time. When South of Superior came out, my editors and so forth were like, this is a beautiful book about community. And I was like, is it? But it is.
It is.
I just didn't know. You
Yeah.
know, wasn't aware, wasn't consciously super aware of what I was doing. In that,
well, they
in
all
that
have
way.
that message of, you know, you can't do it on your own. Nobody's alone.
Right. I suppose they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because that's the life I lead. And so it just comes naturally to me, even if I don't think it through consciously all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I just want to put in here, it's not always pretty community. It's not all hearts and roses.
No, it's sure not. Especially small communities.
But it's,
you know,
powerful and it's important.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're more aware of communities when we live in small ones?
I don't know. I've only really ever lived in small communities.
Yeah, me too.
But I think small communities might very well come up no matter where you are.
That's
Don't
true.
cities have neighborhoods?
Sure,
You know,
make
big,
your own.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or apartment buildings probably have their own communities.
Sure.
I would guess.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So why is the title Tin Camp Road? I know we go to Tin Camp Road, and Tin Camp Road is a
well, because that's where she has the opportunity to make big changes in her outlook on herself and what she can offer.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I thought maybe the title gave too much away.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I thought.
Well, and then I just liked the way it sounded.
It does. It does. Well, and that's so. I thought, Tin Camp Road is where hope lives, really, in the book. But I wondered where the name
came from.
Tin Camp. Yeah, because was it in your head that it was like a logging road, and they would have had
Tin Camp Road. There was there probably still is, but I don't get out that way anymore. When I moved to Grand Marais 30 years ago, maybe 5-6 miles out of town, there was a camp, a place, and it had corrugated sheet walls, tin sheet walls, and spray paint. Someone had spray painted the Tin Camp. And for some reason, that just always stuck in my mind. And I thought, I'm sure from 30 years ago, the part of my mind that is writer Ellen, that I'm not even aware of her diddling way in dark caverns of creativity or whatever, was like, Tin Camp, and what could happen on that back road?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where it came from.
I loved it. It was so real. I could see it. I could see Tin Camp Road in every season in this book. And the descriptions are there, but you're also, if you've ever spent any time in Northern Michigan, you've been on a 2-track or on a road that is like Tin Camp Road. And I found that so relatable.
Thanks.
And so wonderful as well.
Thank you. I'm always wanting to set readers in place. So you make me feel really good when you say that I've done that. Yeah.
Do you read fiction or nonfiction?
Both. Oh, both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you reading now that's good?
I have not been reading very much. She said awkwardly. The writer said awkwardly.
Well, you've been a little busy.
I've been busy. I've been tired. I've been busy. Last fall and through the winter, I read a book called The Blue Bear, which I just loved, which was nonfiction. A writer up in Alaska.
Oh, okay.
Lynn Schooler.
Okay.
I loved it. I love his writing. I love his writing about place and situations.
Okay.
And then I read an older book called The Shanny Boat, I love that one too. It was written in, I believe, in the late 30s or the 40s. Okay. And it's nonfiction. So that's 2 for nonfiction. Okay. So I've been reading a lot of nonfiction.
Okay.
And then I read over the winter Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese. a Canadian
yes.
writer who it was
I
a
love
devastating
him.
book and
Yeah.
so good and just so
Yeah.
that's the most recent fiction that I read and really like read and absorbed carefully.
Well, the book I read was very father-son relationship, sort of the foil to the
Okay.
mother-daughter relationship. That's kind of interesting. But
yeah. So that's what
he's fantastic.
he's fantastic.
Do you have a favorite up north tale? One that you've made up or something that circulates like the dog man that lives in the woods? You know what I mean. So Matt and I always tell people we're taking the tunnel home across the across the bay. There's no tunnel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or that we're selling passes for M119. There's no pass.
There's no pass.
Yeah.
Well, my husband likes to tell people that when we used to serve shrimp on the salad bar, he was like, "Yeah, they're Lake Superior shrimp."
That's great. People believed it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, look at the man. Does he look like he's telling you the truth?
Is he a jokester? Is he funny?
He can. I find him. He can be. Yes. He doesn't. He has a very flat affect most of the time, and people just believe the heck out of him, and it's just dumb. Come on, people, grow the heck up. He is lying. No, he's a great storyteller.
I haven't seen him in your books. Have I?
I don't know. I'm not going to answer that
Okay.
one.
Okay, you got it. You got it.
That one. Really, I told him one time in South of Superior, Gladys is quite a difficult character. She is strong-minded old lady, right?
Yeah,
a lot of younger readers found her mean, and I just found her awesome.
Yeah.
But a lot, in some ways, you would see my husband in Gladys.
Okay.
So I asked him one time, I'm like, does she remind you of anyone? Because he's not a reader at all, but he's read all my work and very carefully. He's a good reader because he gets right to the heart of it. He's like, that's boring.
It's always good to have an editor at home.
Thanks. But at any rate, I said, does she remind you of anyone? And he's like, nope. And I'm like, okie dokie.
Okay.
All right. So
good.
I don't, well, he won't watch YouTube. So
we're safe.
We're pretty safe.
On the route you took to becoming a writer, I was on your website. We were talking about your website earlier. It said if you can entertain people or draw them over to your side, they won't murder you when you're the only waitress on the floor and the cook is swamped and the wait is long and we're out of silverware and you didn't know the fish was gone when you took their order. And I don't know if you wrote that recently or if it's just so timely, especially for this summer.
It's so timely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't write it super recently, but it remains true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even more for at least here, it's, there's
a lot of people around.
There's a lot of people. There are a lot of people and we're so lucky. So lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more intense than ever.
Yes, it can be very intense.
I was wondering, and
we've gone over to plastic silverware, by the way. Just to put that out there.
Really?
We were laughing last night at the campfire. Maybe you would have had to work with us for a long time, but if you say Taco Tuesday, like laugh or just, it's Taco Tuesday, just whatever. So then we thought maybe we'd have real silverware Mondays. And then why don't you eat somewhere else Wednesdays? Because we just
have a theme for every day.
Yeah. And not really, but it can get like a lot at times.
Oh yeah.
This summer is really, really different for us in the diner. We're doing very limited hours compared to what we've always done. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was going to be easy, 3 to 10 with me as the pizza cook. I was wrong. It is kicking my butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same here. Same all over northern Michigan and I'm sure other parts of the country. Matt wanted to know, okay, my husband is obsessed with your baking.
Okay.
He talks about it all the time.
Sweet.
Please tell me that she's bringing cookies, all of this. Do you have any tips on what makes you such a good baker?
I don't have any.
Come on.
No.
Nothing.
They don't have to kill you.
Oh.
No. I don't think it's anything all that fancy. I was raised on a farm and my grandma was a farm woman, my mom was a farm woman, so on and so forth. And they always made desserts were just part of our life.
So are these family recipes?
Mostly, you know, and they're not fancy whatsoever. They're just homemade.
They're delicious.
And that's the whole of it, really. They're just homemade. Have a good oven, use butter, chill your dough.
There we go. See, that's good. That's perfect. Yeah. Three baking rules.
Yes.
Okay, Matt, you've got your 3 baking rules.
But does he have a cookie?
Well, somebody's about to have some cookies.
Somebody's gonna have a cookie.
So some of you signed up to get a reminder, and in this tote bag that you will win are 6 of Ellen's homemade cookies. So let me draw from the names over here. The cookie winner of the night, I know the cookie winner, and I know she's going to be so excited. Carrie Corbin, you are the cookie winner tonight.
Yay, Carrie.
You can pick your cookies up here tomorrow, or I can drop them off somewhere if you need me to, because I know that you're local. Hooray, Carrie. All right, Carrie, you're going to win the bag and the cookies, and then you can tell us all how amazing they are. And then before we go, everybody always wants to know about your writing process. So, you know, I'm wondering, I know that there are special skills that you need when you are working in a diner or in retail behind a counter. What are the special skills or strengths that you think someone has to have to be a successful or happy writer?
Are there happy writers?
Well,
no.
Perhaps not financially successful. Perhaps.
No.
How about content?
I think if writing is something you need to do, then you will do it. If it's not something that you really need to do, maybe don't drive yourself crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need to do it, then just try to find out what works. I work best in the morning. I'm a morning writer. I don't really try to write much in the afternoon. My writing brain is not there.
Mm-hmm.
So find out whatever works for you. Try to get into a routine.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do quite a bit of my thinking with pen or pencil and paper. When I'm actually writing a book, I work almost exclusively on the computer. But when I'm trying to get to know the characters or flesh out a scene or make things happen, I think there's something about the physical act of writing that helps your creativity.
We hear that a lot,
so
it must be true.
You have to be a combination of completely certain that you have something to say, as well as really humble and able to listen to feedback at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think reading a lot is so important to being a good writer or a writer. If you love to do it, just try to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that question also came up because a friend and I were talking about whether or not everyone has one book in them. And I feel like there are some people who have a book in them, but maybe they should let somebody else write it. But I do think that everybody has a book in them. Everybody has.
Yeah, well, everybody has their own unique life, and experiences that have shaped them.
And imaginations and things that people come up with that always blow me away.
That no one else could come up with.
Right.
That's the beauty of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you think everybody has a book in them?
Kind of. I don't think.
Except for those 2 people that we were talking about earlier.
No. I think, I think everybody has more than a book in them in terms of what their life has been about. I don't think everybody needs to write that book. Mm-hmm. I think they would drive themselves crazy trying. Mm-hmm. I think some people are driven to keep that creative. I think writing is it's a way of engaging with life and feeling the flow of life. And if some people can do that playing soccer, you know what I mean? And some people can do it writing books. Mm-hmm. So if it happens to be writing books that is your thing, then you have way more than one book in you. But yeah, someone else could write the story of everybody's life if we only knew how to get those best, unique, amazing details and story arcs out of it. Yeah.
People have talked about feeling bursts of constructive work or feeling frozen in place during the pandemic. And Where did you fall on the spectrum there? What did the pandemic do to your creativity?
I had been working on a book, a memoir. I stopped cold turkey.
Really? Okay.
And I opened the file up last week for the first time.
Okay.
So I did try to work on a novel during that time. I did work on it.
A different novel.
A different
than this
novel.
one.
Yeah, and a different than the memoir I had been working on. So I tried to keep some habit of work going. And I did, but it was odd. It was just weird.
Okay.
You know, everything was weird.
Everything was weird.
Living in the UP in the off season, like staying home and social distancing is just how you live anyway. So it wasn't weird in that way, but it was the overall global uncertainty and a lot of uncertainty about our own business and like what happens next. For 30 years, we've done the same thing the same way, but not now, you know.
Right.
So it was kind of a hazy time.
Yeah. What motivates you?
Brownies.
To have a stack next to you while you're writing. Okay.
The characters.
The characters
motivate me.
Okay.
And the settings. And just that need to be working. You know, which I sometimes look at like, why do you need to work so hard? That's interesting.
Idle hands. And all that. Got it.
What are you trying to prove, lady? Why don't you just go sit on the dock?
Can you sit still?
I can.
Yeah. To read.
Yeah.
But
Or
that's
to knit.
still doing something.
To knit.
To knit. Well, we got to compare some notes.
If the dog is sitting by me, I can sit still for longer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of a dog do you have?
He's an English Cocker Spaniel.
And how old is he?
He's 3.
Aww.
He smells like a dog.
What's his name?
Harwood.
Harwood?
Harwood.
Yeah. We're going to have to see some pictures.
Yeah, you are.
We'll post some pictures after. Do we have any questions?
He's at home with my sister today. My sister's babysitting.
Aww. Thank you, sister.
Thank you, sister.
Do we have any questions from anybody that is watching that wants to ask Ellen anything? I'll give it a couple seconds. We've got some people who've been rereading South Superior. They're looking forward to reading this one. Aww. Oh, and Joanne loves Gladys.
Yay.
So do I.
love Gladys.
Well, I guess then my final question tonight is, if we leave tonight and we find a winning lotto ticket for $1 million on your car, what are you going to do next?
That is fun to think about.
I'm not going to hold you to it.
Yeah. I don't know. It would actually be kind of a pain in the butt.
Okay.
You'd have to manage all that.
See, this tells us everything we need to know about you. That's fantastic. Okay, well, if anybody out there has not gotten a copy of the book yet, if you're looking for, there was a book review I read that said that this book is full of quietly unusual and unanticipated things, which I thought was so
That's awesome.
perfect.
I didn't see that.
Yes.
I love that.
So if
Thank
you're
you.
looking for something that's quietly unusual and unanticipated, you will come to the right place with Tin Camp Road. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank
you
you.
for coming.
Thank you
And
for
we will
having
have
me.
loads and loads of signed copies. We had Ellen sign everything ahead of time, so you can get your signed copies right here. It just came out today. And thank you all so much. Have a great night.
Bye.